They all need to be held accountable for their actions. A lot of them, folks, they really do. All of these politicians, none of them are serving the people anymore at all. None of them. Now, it's time we called it. You know, this entire Australian government is an invalid entity, and it's a treasonous entity, and what they have done to the people of this country in response to this alleged pandemic is a crime. It's an absolute crime. We allegedly have 102 people dead from this virus now in this country, and we can't even confirm that they actually died from the virus because the tests that they are administering have an 80% false positive.
And I'm just going to do another 30 seconds on testing. These tests are not 100% sensitive or specific. And I'm going to go over this over and over again. So if you have 1% of your population infected, and you have a test that's only 99% specific, that means that when you find a positive, 50% of the time it will be a real positive, and 50% of the time it won't be. And that's why we're really asking people to start testing in among the first responders and the healthcare workers that may have had the greatest exposure, because that's where the test will be most reliable. And then when we have the luxury, we can go out to broader and broader communities. But this has been the fundamental question to begin with and has been persistent. And we will emphasize to the American people again, this is a highly contagious virus. And we don't know by looking at someone whether they have pre-existing conditions or not. And so all of us, as far as protecting others, must continue to do all of the recommendations to ensure that when we are in an asymptomatic state, we're not passing the virus to others.
Certainly I've tried, and Patrick has tried right from the beginning, to balance two things. The seriousness of this virus as an epidemic, and it clearly is a very serious epidemic, but equally the fact that actually the great majority of people will not die from this. And I'll just repeat something I said right at the beginning, because I think it's worth reinforcing. Most people, a significant proportion of people will not get this virus at all, at any point in the epidemic, which is going to go on for a long period of time. Of those who do, some of them will get the virus without even knowing it. They will have the virus with no symptoms at all, asymptomatic carriage, and we know that happens. Of those who get symptoms, the great majority, probably 80%, will have a mild or moderate disease. Might be bad enough for them to have to go to bed for a few days, not bad enough for them to have to go to the doctor. An unfortunate minority will have to go as far as hospital, but the majority of those will just need oxygen and will then leave hospital. And then a minority of those will end up having to go to severe and critical care, and some of those, sadly, will die. But that's a minority. It's 1% or possibly even less than 1% overall. And even in the highest risk group, this is significantly less than 20%, i.e. the great majority of people, even the very highest groups, if they catch this virus, will not die.
You know, when you've got a test that gives 80% false positives, folks, you don't have a test. It's as simple as that. So how do they know what anybody's dying from? You know, and as I've said previously, it's like it's cured all other diseases. No one's dying of pneumonia anymore. No one's dying of respiratory failure anymore. No one's dying of all the things that people normally die of. It's all COVID.
I just want to be clear in terms of the definition of people dying of COVID. So the case definition is very simplistic. It means at the time of death, it was a COVID positive diagnosis. So that means that if you were in hospice and had already been given, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that even if you died of a clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. So everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that was the cause of the death, but they had COVID at the time of death. I hope that's helpful.
Total death rate. It's worth remembering again that the ONS rates are people who got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected, because many of them haven't been tested, so we just need to understand the difference.
But the test that they have for COVID gives an 80% false positive. So how do you even know what they're dying from? It's such a joke. It's such a scam. It's such a farce. I'd like to see this entire government arrested and tried and charged with treason. I think the best thing we could do to free Australia from corruption is to build a gallows at the back of Parliament House in Canberra. That's what I think we should do. And the state premiers as well. And this frickin' idiot calling himself a chief medical officer who actually believes that this pandemic is real and is actually promoting the wearing of masks. It's just such an idiot to be promoting the wearing of masks. I mean, mate, go and get some sort of a medical degree or something, because you obviously haven't got one. Or if you've got one, then you're too much of a fool to remember anything that was written in it. I mean, grow a brain, for God's sake. You're an embarrassment to this country. And so is this fucking idiot called a Prime Minister. I mean, what is that damn thing? With his utter insincerity, that little frowny look he gets on his face, and, oh, I did the wrong thing, I said the wrong thing. It's because you're a fucking idiot, mate. That's why you said the wrong thing, you did the wrong thing. You shouldn't even be there swearing allegiance to the Queen of Australia when you were sworn in.
Your Excellency, I present the Honourable Scott Morrison to be sworn in to the office of Prime Minister.
Mr Morrison, I invite you to take and subscribe the oath of office as Prime Minister of Australia.
I, Scott John Morrison, do swear that I will well and truly serve the people of Australia in the office of Prime Minister, and that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Australia, so help me God.
Who the hell is that bitch? Who's the Queen of Australia? There is no Queen of Australia. Why don't you get this woman out of a Pop-Tart or something? It's got a little diagram out of a cracker or something, out of a bonbon for Christmas, and it said, oh, Queen of Australia, gee, I'll swear allegiance to this thing. Whatever it is. There is no Queen of Australia, mate. You're a liar. You're a treasonous parasite, and you need to be called out for what you are. And what you have done to this country is absolutely disgraceful and disgusting. All of you people. All of you people. Yeah, folks, it gets me quite irate thinking about this. It really does. You know, just the brain dead nature of the people in Australia that are putting up with this and going along with this. Because this is going to kill all small businesses, and it's not going to go away. Like I said, they'll relax the restrictions a little bit for a little while, and then it'll all come back because they need it to, because they want it to, because it suits their agenda. And if, you know, they wouldn't be putting all these marks in shopping centres, you wouldn't have these pop-up shops opening in California, you wouldn't have them teaching children songs like this at school if they intended this to ever go away. So it's up to us to call it. It's up to us to call it for what it is, folks.